All right, so get this. Imagine taking a still photo, like just a regular picture,
Mm-hmm.
and turning it into a video of that person singing or dancing
Oh, wow.
or even playing an instrument.
Welly.
Sounds kind of crazy, right? Like magic almost.
Yeah, it does.
But that's exactly what we're diving into today, the world of OmniHuman-1.
It's pretty mind-blowing. OmniHuman-1 is this new AI model
Okay.
that can create these like super realistic animations just from a single image and some motion cues, like you said, audio or video.
Wow.
We've got a research paper on this, and there's actually an archived web page that shows off what it can do.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, let me tell you, it's some impressive stuff.
So I'm guessing that means no more like, animating every single frame by hand?
Not with this tech, no.
Yeah.
One of the biggest challenges in human animation has always been scaling up the data. I mean, traditional methods, they need these massive data sets
Right.
of like perfectly clean, filtered data. Think like, super precise lip syncing, totally clear visuals, no background noise. It's really limiting.
So how does OmniHuman-1, how's it different?
Well, OmniHuman-1 tackles this problem with something called omni-conditions training.
Omni-condition.
Yeah. So instead of using just one type of motion cue, like just audio or just video, it uses a mix of text, audio, and pose data all together.
So it's almost like learning from like a bunch of different teachers at the same time.
Exactly. And this lets the model learn from a much wider range of data, even stuff that'd normally be thrown out with the old methods, like say you have a video with a noisy background.
Yeah.
It could still be useful because the pose data gives it strong guidance.
Well, that's smart. So even like imperfect data can be used.
Exactly.
Are there like any specific, I guess, principles or like guidelines behind this way of training?
Yeah, actually there are. There are two key principles. The first is that stronger conditions, like that pose data we were talking about, can actually help train for tasks with weaker conditions, like using text. Think of it like, when you're first learning to ride a bike, you use training wheels.
Right.
It's like that.
Yeah, okay.
And the second principle is that the weaker conditions need more training time than the stronger ones. This keeps the model from relying too much on just the easiest cues.
Makes sense. You don't want it to just be good at like one thing.
Exactly. You want it to be well-rounded.
So how does this all actually work technically? Like I don't need to get super deep in the weeds here.
Sure.
But like what's the elevator pitch?
Okay, so at its heart, OmniHuman-1 uses what's called a diffusion transformer model.
Okay.
And this type of model, it's been making a big splash in AI lately because it's really good at generating realistic images and videos. It's kind of like, imagine taking a blurry picture and you're slowly refining it until it becomes totally crystal clear.
Gotcha.
So the model takes the audio, the pose data, that reference image, and it uses them to guide this generation of video frames.
So it's really using all that to make sure the person in the video actually looks like the person in the photo.
Yeah, you got it. And to make things even more efficient, OmniHuman-1 has this clever way of encoding the reference image.
Oh, wow.
That it avoids having to like duplicate the whole network.
Okay.
So saves on computing power. It's pretty neat.
So it's efficient and effective.
Yeah, definitely.
That sounds like this could be huge, really.
It definitely could be. The results are really impressive.
Right.
We're going to dive into some specific examples in the next part.
Also.
But I think you're going to be blown away.
I'm ready. Let's move on and see this OmniHuman-1 in action. Okay, I'm ready to see what this OmniHuman-1 can actually do. The research paper got pretty technical.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But I heard the web page is where the magic really happens, right?
Yeah, you heard right. Seeing is believing with this stuff.
Okay, so give me the highlights. What kind of things can this model do?
Well, one that really got me was the one with the musical instruments. Like you see this still image of someone holding a guitar, and then suddenly they're just strumming chords and everything, their fingers moving perfectly in time with the music.
And it looks real, like not like that old like robot dancing CGI stuff.
Oh, no, this is totally different. It's like you see those subtle little movements in the hands, even the way their body kind of sways to the rhythm.
Wow.
It really captures that like human element of movement that's been so hard to fake in the past.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty bad lip syncing animations before.
Oh, yeah.
How does OmniHuman-1 handle that?
That's actually one of the things that this mixed condition training is really good at. because it's learning from both the audio and the visuals at the same time. It gets this like deep understanding of how the mouth moves to make all those different sounds. It's not just like generic opening and closing. You can actually see the shapes for each syllable.
That's wild. So it can do realistic, but can it do other styles too? Like what about cartoons or anime?
It can. That's the cool part. It's not limited to just one style. On the webpage, they even show examples of it doing stylized characters.
Really?
Yeah, with like those exaggerated expressions and movements you see in anime.
So it can adapt to different looks, but still keep those like core principles of how humans move.
Exactly. It's super versatile.
Wow, that opens up so many possibilities.
Yeah, think about filmmakers, game developers, even like educators could use this.
Yeah.
And this is just the start, you know? This tech is so young, who knows what it'll be able to do in a few years.
It really makes you think.
Yeah.
But okay, let's get back to the how of all this. We talked about those diffusion transformer models.
Right.
Can you break that down a little more for me?
Sure. So imagine you have a blurry picture and you want to sharpen it up.
Okay.
A diffusion transformer model basically works the same way. It starts with a noisy image, then it kind of slowly refines it using the input data as its guide.
So the input data is like a filter, cleaning up all the noise to show the clear image.
Exactly. And for OmniHuman-1, that input data is that audio, the pose info, and their reference image. It uses all of that to create the final animation.
Okay, so walk me through how it uses the audio and pose data. Like, how does it understand that stuff?
So for the audio, they use this technique called Wive2Vec.
Oh.
It basically pulls out all the important features from the sound waves.
Okay.
It's not just hearing the raw audio, it's actually analyzing the structure underneath, like the different frequencies and tones.
So it's like breaking down the sound into its basic parts.
Exactly. And then those parts are converted into something the diffusion transformer model can use.
Gotcha.
Now for the pose data, that's usually represented as a set of heat maps.
Heat maps.
Yeah, think of it like a blueprint of the movement.
Okay.
And each heat map highlights a different part of the body.
So it can see where like the arms, legs, head, all that are supposed to be at each moment.
Exactly. And like those audio features, the heat maps are also converted into something the model can understand. So it can see how all the different body parts are related to each other.
Wow. Okay, so it has all this info, the audio, the pose data, the picture. What does it actually do with it? How does it go from that to a person moving on the screen?
So this is where that diffusion transformer model really shines.
Okay.
It starts with just random noise, basically a bunch of pixels with no meaning. Then, step by step, it refines that noise using all that input data as a guide.
Okay.
It's almost like sculpting a statue out of clay.
Oh.
You start with this rough blob and slowly add more detail until you get a masterpiece.
So the input data is kind of like the sculptor's hands, shaping the model to create the right image.
That's a great way to put it. And throughout this whole process, the model keeps checking its work against the original picture. It's making sure that the person it's generating actually matches the photo.
So it's not just movement, it's movement specific to that person.
You got it.
It's crazy that all this is happening inside a computer program.
Yeah. It really is, and we're only just beginning to tap into the potential of these models, you know?
Yeah.
As the research continues, we're going to see even more complex designs and training techniques, which will lead to even more realistic and versatile animations.
It's exciting, but also kind of scary, you know? Like, with how powerful this is, we really have to be careful how it's used.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We can't just focus on the wow factor.
Right.
We need to be thinking about the impact it could have, both good and bad.
Exactly. But for now, let's keep being amazed by it.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen what OmniHuman-1 can do. We kind of peeked behind the curtain to see how it works.
Right.
And in the last part, we'll zoom out and look at the bigger picture, the possibilities, the implications, all that good stuff.
It's a conversation you don't want to miss. See you there.
Okay, so we've seen what OmniHuman-1 can do, and we got a little peek behind the scenes to see how it all works. Now I think it's time to like zoom out and look at the bigger picture, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
What are the possibilities with this, and what could this mean for like the future?
It's definitely a lot to think about. I mean, this tech could really change a lot of industries, but there are also some big questions that come with that, you know?
Exactly. So let's start with the good stuff. What are like some of the most exciting ways we could use this kind of AI animation?
Well, the entertainment industry is like the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, for sure.
Imagine like video games where the characters are so realistic they move and react just like real people.
Yeah.
Or virtual actors that can play any role. It doesn't matter what they look like or how old they are.
It can totally change how we make movies and TV shows.
Oh, absolutely. And that's just the beginning, really.
Wow.
Think about education. We could have these super lifelike simulations.
Wow.
Students could experience historical events firsthand or learn about complicated science stuff in a whole new way.
And what about things like VR and AR? Like this could make them so much more immersive, you wouldn't even know the difference between real and digital anymore.
Exactly. Imagine going to a virtual concert, but the performers are AI generated, and they look and sound exactly like the real deal.
Wow.
Or using AR to bring historical figures to life right in your living room.
The possibilities are pretty crazy.
Oh, yeah.
But we talked about the downsides too. What are some of the risks or challenges with this tech?
One of the big ones is jobs, you know? If AI can do these realistic animations,
Yeah.
what happens to the human actors, the animators, all those people?
Right,
Will
yeah.
their skills even be needed anymore?
That's a good point. We got to remember that this tech should be a tool to help people be more creative,
Exactly.
not to replace them completely. Maybe we'll see new ways for humans and AI to work together to make even cooler things.
I think that's very likely, actually. We've seen it happen before with photography, digital music, stuff like that. Those tools didn't replace artists. They just gave them new ways to express themselves.
So maybe we'll see the same thing with AI animation. But there's also the ethical side of things to think about, especially with deepfakes and fake news and all that.
Yeah, that's a big one. Being able to create these videos that look real but are totally fake, that's a serious problem. It could make people not trust anything they see anymore.
And make it even harder to know what's true and what's not.
Exactly. We need new ways to spot deep fakes.
Yeah.
And we need to teach people about how easy it is to manipulate stuff like this. This is where everyone needs to work together. The tech people, the governments, the teachers.
It sounds like there's a lot to do to make sure this technology is used the right way.
There is, but I'm still optimistic about the future.
Me too. I think the key is to be excited about it, but also careful. You know, we got to be aware of the risks, but also open to all the amazing things it could do.
I think that's a great way to put it.
OmniHuman-1 has really shown us this future where it's hard to tell what's real and what's not.
It has.
It's a future with a lot of potential, but also some danger. And ultimately, it's up to all of us to decide what that future looks like and make sure this technology is used for good.
I completely agree. It's a future we're all building together.
And with that, we've reached the end of our deep dive into OmniHuman-1. I hope you found it as interesting and thought-provoking as we did.
Me too. And until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep into the world around us.